Observing mental feelings, Vedanā, is the easiest Dhamma practice. Maintain the 5 moral precepts and practice mindfulness diligently, whether standing, walking, sitting, or lying down. Be aware of the body standing, the body walking, the body sitting, and the body lying down. Eventually, when the body moves or changes posture, mindfulness will arise by itself. If you prefer to observe mental objects, the easiest mental object to observe is mental feelings, Vedanā. Physical feelings are harder to observe. For example, trying to observe pain in the body. When the pain is intense, mindfulness can shatter. So if you don't have strong samadhi, a stable mental state, observing physical feelings can be difficult because the mind cannot bear it. But observing mental feelings, Vedanā, is easier. It is the meditation object that I myself have observed repeatedly, and after much reflection, I have found it to be the easiest, as there are only 3 types of mental feelings. If you observe mental formations, sankhara, there are so many to see, dozens of them. But mental feelings, Vedanā, are simpler. There are only 3 types of mental feelings: happiness, sukha, unhappiness, dukkha, and neutral feeling, upekkha. So, if you want to practice easily, just be aware of your own mind. When the mind is happy, know so. When the mind is unhappy, know so. When the mind is neutral, know so. This cycle repeats all day and night. Keep observing until it becomes automatic. When happiness arises, mindfulness recognizes it on its own. When unhappiness arises, mindfulness recognizes it. When neutral feelings arise, mindfulness recognizes it as well. So, to quickly recap, observing mental feelings, Vedanā, is simple. It's not complicated at all. Just these 3: happiness, unhappiness, and neutral feeling. They revolve in our mind all day and night and are easy to observe. If you observe mental formations, sankhara, there are so many to observe: greed, anger, delusion, non-greed, non-anger, non-delusion, restlessness, misery, joy, sorrow, jealousy, worry, anxiety, fear. The list goes on. Calmness, lack of calmness, it's endless. So observing mental formations can feel overwhelming. But if you observe mental feelings, Vedanā, it's not complicated. Simple and easy. Anyone can do it. Right now, is the mind happy, unhappy, or neutral? That's all there is to observe. Keep knowing, keep observing. Don't rush or force yourself to observe. Don't scrutinize or overanalyze asking, is the mind happy now? Is it unhappy? Or is it neutral? This approach won't help because mindfulness, sati, does not arise. Instead, greed, lobha, arises, a desire to know what feeling is present in the mind at the moment. Mental feelings are Dhamma. They are mental phenomena that arise with every minds. Mental feelings arise with every mind. Some minds arise only with neutral feelings. Some minds arise with happiness. Some minds arise with unhappiness. You cannot predict which feeling will arise. Wholesome minds will arise either happiness or neutral feelings. Unwholesome minds can also have happiness, such as mind filled with desire, raga, which bring happiness. Minds with aversion, dosa, are accompanied by unhappiness. Delusion, moha, is always present in minds with desire or aversion. Desire and aversion cannot arise without delusion as a foundation. If there is no delusion, there can be no greed. If there is no delusion, there can be no anger. It's as simple as that. So just keep knowing and observing the mental feelings, Vedanā, in your mind. It's not difficult at all. There are only 3 to observe. When happiness arises, know so. When unhappiness arises, know so. When neutral feelings arise, know so. Observing mental feelings, Vedanā, is simple. This meditation object, I think, is the easiest of all. Do you know when you feel happy or at ease? Can you feel it? Is it difficult to know? It's not difficult. Anyone can know. But it's rare to find people interested in observing their own mind. When happiness arises, we tend to pay attention to the things that trigger our happiness. For instance, seeing a beautiful form will make us happy. Instead of recognizing that the mind is experiencing happiness, we focus on the forms that caused it. For example, seeing a beautiful woman, the mind feels happy, and desire, raga, arises, bringing happiness with it. Rarely does anyone stop to observe their own mind. Instead, they focus on external objects, such as the woman they like. Similarly, when seeing beautiful things, jewelry, or things we like, the mind becomes greedy, wanting to have them. We rarely observe the mind as wanting. Instead, we focus on the things we want to have. This lack of observation prevents us from seeing the mind clearly. As Luangpu taught, practice is not difficult. It is difficult only for those who don't practice. Practice is simply this: when the mind is happy, know it. When the mind is unhappy, know it. When the mind is neutral, know it. That's all there is to practice. Just keep knowing and observing. People are often preoccupied with forms, sounds, smells, tastes, body sensations, or their thoughts. For instance, when thinking about something enjoyable, the mind feels happy. If one consistently observes the mind, over time, they will see the truth. A happy mind is impermanent. An unhappy mind is impermanent. A neutral mind is impermanent. We cannot command the happy mind to remain happy forever. We cannot stop the unhappy mind from experiencing unhappiness. We cannot force the neutral mind to become happy or unhappy. Keep observing until you see the truth. The mind is anatta, not self. It cannot be commanded or controlled. By observing these 3 mental feelings repeatedly, one will eventually see the mind itself. The mind is impermanent, anicca, unsatisfactory, dukkha, and not self, anatta. By seeing this again and again, one will come to understand Dhamma.